Good morning. I'm Heather Gehron-Rice. My pronouns are she and her. I'm serving as your worship associate today. My pleasure to welcome all of you to this progressive spiritual community where we come together to nourish the spirit, connect in love, and act for justice. At UUCL, as we like to refer to ourselves, love is our only doctrine, and service and justice are our most sacred prayers. So we pray by striving to live lives in words and deeds that affirm that Black lives matter. And our doctrine of love has moved us to affirm for decades that love is divine and love is what makes a family. This Unitarian Universalist congregation is a place where we come to learn more about being human. We're not here because we figured out life's questions or because we think we've got it right. We welcome all of you to our service, especially those of you who are searching for a spiritual home. Many of us were once too seeking for something larger than ourselves to which we could belong, a sense of rootedness to hold ourselves as we create meaning together. We do that here, though not perfectly. In this congregation, we've strived not for perfection, but for authenticity and connection. So whether it's your first time here with us or your 100th time, we hope that you will find questions here that stretch you, people to befriend you, and progressive spiritual values that challenge you to join us in loving boldly, living justly, and welcoming radically. I now invite us to enter into sacred space as Reverend Israel lights our chalice, the beloved symbol of our Unitarian Universalist movement. This light we kindle is set in the lamp of our history. We inherit this free faith from the brave and gentle, fierce and outspoken hearts and minds that have come before us. Let us be worthy inheritors of this faith, and through our good works, pass it boldly to a new generation. Blessed be.
Thank you, Heather. And I add my welcome to all of you to here, and I welcome you all. I'm Israel, by the way. I'm Reverend Israel. I'm the minister of this congregation, and I use he, him for pronouns. I invite you all to take a moment to look around and greet each other in this virtual sacred space that we share. And if you don't have your camera on and you feel comfortable turning it on, I welcome you to do so that we can all see each other. Don't worry, like I've said before, as long as you are only showing the top half, it doesn't matter if you're wearing pajama bottoms, no bottoms, whatever. We are here together and we are sharing this time of discovery and spirituality and growth together. We are here in this space in our world, in this world that is full of complexity and life, full of both pain and suffering, as well as joy and beauty, love and betrayal, war and peace, and everything that lies in between and is in process. This is the stuff of life we arrive from into this space and bring and carry in this world full of conflicts, brutality, political upheaval, crises, and everything. Sometimes the best thing that we can do, I discovered this morning when I woke up quite early, is to simply be still and to look out and to remind ourselves of how things truly are. To remember, as I did this morning, as I saw the brilliant sunrise, that the sun will always come up. To look out on the frosted grass that looks like it was sprinkled with powdered sugar of some divine baker. To remember the soil beneath our feet as we walk upon this earth. To remember the breath of life flowing in and through all of us. This time together, my friends, is about reminding ourselves to make time, to be present to the ever unfolding of past, present, and future that is always going on with us. That's what worship is. That's what we are doing together. And also this morning, we make time and space to remember Veterans Day that was celebrated, that was marked this past week, to remember and hold space for, to remind ourselves, to acknowledge the selfless commitment that many have made and continue to make in service of something greater than themselves. So we take a moment this morning to honor those people. And we honor them, I think, by committing together to strive to build a society and a world where every person can be safe and free from harm, where every person has the opportunity to be safe and well and happy in body as well as in mind and heart and spirit. So on this day, as we remember Veterans Day, we consider the connections between our minds and our bodies and our hearts. We commit ourselves to creating a world so that all can live in freedom to give and to guard their bodies as best seems fit to them, and to exercise their own powers of moral discernment around their own fertility and creative potential. And we seek peace as well for all of those who serve, for all those people who put their bodies on the line for causes greater than themselves, who were ordered and pressured or expected to act against their own moral compass. All of those people who never returned, or who returned changed, injured in some way in body and mind, spirit, or in heart. So for all of them, for all of those people, we must, all of us, commit ourselves to peace. And for the service members of all genders, all sexualities, those who were conscripted and those who volunteered, those who marched and fought under all banners, for all those service members, all those people who did not make the wars, but whose lives and hearts and minds and bodies were consumed and altered by them. For their memory, past, present, and future, may we all remind ourselves, commit ourselves to building a world of health, safety, healing, compassion, and peace. For them, we raise this joyful song of peace. We arrive here in this place, my friends, from our many separate different journeys, and we gather here. We come here bringing all that we bring. Life, complexity, hope, desire for peace and love, desire for justice, complexity, including all the sorrows and heaviness that we carry in our heart, all the disappointments, all of the mystery, all of the things that we are still processing together. And we bring them here to this space, which is our communal well, which is where we draw our strength and sustenance, where we hold each other, support each other, as if we were all in a nice warm bath, all children being bathed by a loving parent. We seek that comfort, that space together here. So I ask you, what is it that you carry on your heart? Where are the areas that you need a little compassion in yourself and for others today? What complex truths, joys, and sorrows, and everything that lies in between do you carry into this space today that you need to be named, that you need to say out loud to make sense of? Now is the time for you to bring those things into this space and to type them out into the chat in 15 words or less. And we will read them aloud, and I will place a stone in this bowl, which represents our well of community for you, so that you know that you are held and seen and loved here. If you'd like us to say your name, you can write from so-and-so, and if not, we will not say your name. For all of the joys, sorrows, complex truths that we all carry in our hearts, the ones that remain in the silent places, the ones that are still in process, and the ones that are perhaps still coming in on the chat. I place this final stone into our bowl for all of you, for all of us, for all those people who are here and not here, so that all of us, all of you may know that you are seen and loved and heard in this community. And I place it next to our chalice on our altar for us. I invite you now to join me in the spirit of contemplation, meditation, presence, what some know as prayer. To take a moment and let yourself be, let yourself breathe, let yourself feel yourself in the chair, on the couch, or the floor, or wherever you are, in a bed, perhaps. Feel yourself, know yourself to be grounded and rooted, present to life as it is ever unfolding on this beautiful day. Be with your breath for a moment. Remember that life is ever unfolding all around us, always. Eckhart Tolle said that anxiety and fear are often the result of too much future in our lives, in our minds, and not enough present. And that regret and sadness and bitterness are the result of too much past in our lives and not enough present. I call on all of us this morning to see, rather than simply the past or the present or the future, to see all of those things, to see the infinity present in the present. to remember that life, your body, your cells are constantly in flux and process, in growing and changing and living and dying, and new ones being born all the time. And that every moment that presents itself to you is a moment of infinity. For every moment that you make a decision, move yourself into the present, there are an infinite number of possibilities that you could choose. In fact, the theory of parallel universes says that at every moment when a decision or something happens, an infinite number of possible universes opens up. No matter which choice or path you choose. So let us remember that this present moment opens up an infinity of possibilities in every moment. With every breath that you draw, we are always in process of crossing halfway across to infinity. Crossing halfway to infinity in all directions. We are always becoming.
I am who I'm becoming. I am all I have done. I am what I am dreaming. I've only just begun. I am who I'm becoming. I am all I have done. I am what I am dreaming. I've only just begun. You are who you're becoming. You are all you have done. You are what you are dreaming. You've only just begun. You are who you're becoming. You are all you have done. You are what you are dreaming. You've only just begun. We are who we're becoming. We are all we have done. We are what we are dreaming. We've only just begun. We are who we're becoming. We are all we have done. We are dreaming. We've only just begun.
You have all, my friends, only just begun. Whether you see yourselves as carrying on a lineage of ancient history or the present. This is a story that I have for us today about ancient history, but really it's about how history transforms us and how we transform history, how we hold history into what we carry into the present. So, if we were all of us to go back many centuries, we would find somewhere in the world a priestly person standing in an ancient temple. That priest, that person would be standing over a very specific fire in a very elaborately built ancient temple, in a very specific place, with very specific decorations, very specific incense, very specific fire. And they would be standing over that fire, saying very specific words, offering burnt offerings made a very specific mixture of grains to this fire. And they would look up at their God, their deity that they had a very specific picture of. And they would offer up words. And of course, the priest would have been the only one who knew the exact, perfect, specific words to offer to that deity. And they would stand there and they would chant and they would say those words. And as it was recorded in the annals of history, so they say, a very specific miracle would have occurred. Now, that's what the books say, or at least a book says. But in later generations, people would bring their offerings to this altar for this burnt offering. And it was the people that brought them, not just the priest. And the people would bring their offerings and they would try to remember together what the exact right words were, or what the exact right mixture of grains was or incense was, what kind of wood they were supposed to use in the fire, and what exactly they were supposed to say. And together they would try to remember those things, and they would look at their book, look at the records of the annals of history, and determine exactly what it was they were supposed to do in this temple. And they would try and they would offer up some words to the God of their own understanding. They would come together, they would wrestle with these ideas, and as it perhaps was still recorded in the annals of history, some sort of miracle still occurred. But later still, as people got further and further away from that moment, that temple, the temple was destroyed. They were scattered about the world, and they tried to gather in specific places. And they forgot exactly what they were supposed to do, but they knew somehow that they were still supposed to come together. And they knew that they were supposed to bring something to the community, that they were supposed to bring something to this space together to make that time and that space sacred with each other. They didn't know exactly what they were supposed to say, or how exactly they were supposed to chant, or to whom or to what they were supposed to lift up their words. But they had a conversation about it. And one day, as people were gathering, they realized that what they were calling up, let's say they were gathered in the forest one day, instead of at a very specific temple, or they were gathered at a coffee shop. And maybe their incense was the steam coming off a cup of herbal tea. And maybe the prayer that they were offering up was the beautiful conversation that they were having with one another. And the burnt offering that they were offering up was a plate of risotto. They realized that this thing that they were calling up together was something that they were building together, not that one specific person held all the power or the key to. And that the temple itself was the community, was the gathered space of people, and the things that made it possible. The communal roads that were constructed to get them to the gathering space. The farmers and the millers and the bakers who created the bread for the burnt offering. The scientists that taught them how to grow the bread. The academics that discussed what kind of bread was best suited for which climate. The philosophers who questioned who should have bread, who should have access to bread. How do we create more access to bread for people who don't have it? And they realized that the history that they were reckoning with was still with them, but they were living and breathing and transforming it in the process. They were carrying it forth into each moment as they wrestled with all of these questions. And they were still gathered in not just one temple, but in many places, gathered to tell the stories and to process and to grow and to learn. And as we try to write in the annals of history today, we realize that the miracle is a miracle in process. The promise of a miracle in the power of you, the collective, is a promise in process. And this is how all of us, I think, hold history today. We hold history together. We carry it forth together. We realize that tradition changes with us through time. That tradition needs to change, but that some things come forth and some things are still sacred. There are still values and things that we carry, that we must understand and acknowledge and reckon with our history. That we have to reckon with the truth of our history. That we cannot make a world, that we cannot reimagine a world that we haven't been told the truth about. That is the prophetic task of church today. To tell the truth in a society that lives in an illusion. To grieve in a society that practices denial. And to express hope in a society that lives in despair. That is one of my tasks, is to remind us all, and these are the words of Aubrey de Grey, that we ought not to cling to a mistake just because we spent a lot of time making it. That our future selves are watching us right now through our memories. Or that hell, that idea that we don't talk about too often here, but that the most terrifying version of hell is on your last day on earth, the person who you could have become comes to meet the person who you became. These are all of the things that we are doing together, that we are striving to do together. The ways that we are processing and making sense of our own individual personal histories, our history as a community, and our history as a society. So I ask you, how does the past, your past, our past, live collectively in your body as well as your mind? Because here's a really interesting thing. Memory, the memories that we carry forth, are never exactly accurate or exact copies of what exactly happened. the way that we remember things is never specifically exactly like the way it happened. Even the way that they are recorded in the annals of history is not exactly the way that they happened. And if you were to ask, if any of you have like big families, if you have a lot of siblings, if you were to like go to your siblings and ask them to recount like a specific fun memory or something like that that happened in your past in your family, you might find that each sibling has a slightly different version of their view of how things happened or how things were. And it might be affected by birth order and all that kind of stuff. And you might realize that you were all living in the same house and experiencing the same thing, but you were experiencing it in very different ways. This is true for many of us of how we experience and remember our past. And so, how can we still have a relationship with the past when it is constantly changing? Because it is actually the act of, there's a lot of research right now to suggest that every time we pull up a memory, we actually change the memory a little bit every time we remember it. And so in that way, the past or history is not fixed. It is something that we are constantly reshaping in the present. Not to say that we are creating an untruth, but we are molding and shaping something that happened, how we were, separately, together, and we are molding it and shaping it based on the knowledge of what is just, what is loving, what is right, what we ought to do, what we want to do for ourselves collectively and for the world. So that's why I presented before to you in our meditation, this idea that the present moment is like an infinity of possibilities. That in each moment, there is this opportunity for creation and destruction and imagination that's informed by our past, but not bound by it. Memory can keep our grip on the past, but it also asks us to pay attention to who we are in the present too. What we are becoming in relation to where we've been. And in that way, history, the annals of history as they are recorded, are very much not set in stone. It's kind of like how in our society, many places, many cities, towns have been moving away from celebrating Columbus Day to celebrating Indigenous Peoples Day. Because we look back at the history of what we were commemorating, and we realized that it was unjust, it was not compassionate, it did not tell the full truth of what happened. That we needed to correct, to alter, to change course based on how we were remembering our past. Because the way that people were glorifying and remembering colonialism and violence needed to be restructured. We needed to alter the way that we saw the way that people came into this country. So we changed a holiday from Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day to recognize something in our past that needs healing in the present. And we do that, we can do that in a societal way, but we can also do it with your own individual lives. You can reckon with the things that are in your past, and you can form a new understanding of them, and you can move forward. It's another way of saying that we are not our history necessarily, but we must reckon with it. We are not separate from it. We are always becoming, and not just becoming, but we are becoming forth from something. So if you were ever to think about it like this. This is the thought that I want to leave you with today. That holding history, reckoning with history, is about releasing and continuing, not about forgetting or about being not factual, but it is about releasing the things that need to be released, releasing the past, and releasing the mistakes or the anxiety about the mistakes of the future too. Because both are changeable and beyond our control. So to reckon with history means to live in this moment. Because it is the only moment that is truly real. the only thing that you truly have control over. And we don't live solely for the moment in like some reckless way, because we live with a sense of responsibility in this moment, because both the past and the future can break our hearts. And both the past and the future call us on to correct and to envision and to live with beauty and delight and pleasure in this moment, but also responsibility for what we are moving into. To see the responsibility that both the past and the future place on us, and to be bold and brave and courageous and curious and creative. And to always see ourselves unfolding into eternity. Unfolding into eternity by the interconnected web of past, present, and future that we are all inextricably a part of.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
We now take an offering as an outward expression of our interdependence. You can support our work as you are able by texting the amount of your donation to the number on the screen or through the Contribute tab on our website at uuclonline.org. The morning offering will now be gratefully received.
I spent a long time running, I never knew then what I know now. That the fruits, they always come in, but you can't go around just knocking them down. It takes a long time to show in. We plant the seeds then, and we look at them now. But the roots are always growing, no matter if I'm there or never around.
Whatever grows will grow, whatever dies will die, whatever works will work, whatever flies will fly, whatever fails will fail, what's meant to soar will soar. I am planting seeds, nothing
It's like your whole life you've been training for this moment, and when the time comes you just disown it, meaning you just surrender, don't control it, not interested in the clay pots and mold it, or sitting next to the path trying to unfold it, or waiting for the fruits to fall down toward you. Let it go and now you're flowing, feeling quite gorgeous, so you take steps away instead of towards it. What a rush, feeling freedom with nothing to hold. We've been taught that what you touch will always turn to gold, and now we're learning when we let it go it overflows with no credit to take, cause no credit is his own. A higher power working deeper where the seeds are sowed. And when the seeds are true, then they're seeds of gold. But the real gold is joy when life starts to flow. And when it does, you just smile, cause now you know.
I spent a long time running, I never knew then what I know now. Left the fruits, they always come in, but you can't go around just knocking them down. It takes a long time to show in, we plant the seeds then and we look at them now. But the roots are always growing, no matter if I'm there or never around.
Whatever grows will grow, whatever dies will die, whatever works will work, whatever flies will fly, whatever fails will fail, what's meant to soar will soar. I am planting seeds. Whatever grows will grow.
When it grows, it grows.
Whatever dies will
And when it dies, it dies. Come on.
Works will
If it works, it works.
Whatever flies will
Let it fly, let it
Whatever
fly.
fails will fail.
When it fails, it
What's meant
fails.
to soar will soar.
And when it soars, it soars.
I am planting seeds. Whatever grows will grow.
Let it grow, let it
Whatever
grow.
dies will
If
die.
it dies, it dies.
Whatever works will
And when it works, it works.
Whatever flies
Yeah,
will fly.
let it fly, let it
Whatever
fly.
fails will fail.
If it fails, it
What's meant
fails.
to soar will soar.
Let it soar.
I am planting seeds
And nothing more.